A juror from the Bill Cosby trial takes us inside the inner workings of a tense jury room. Sequestered with 11 strangers, tensions running high. Why he feels bad it all ended in deadlock. And the one piece of evidence that he thought proved the comedian's guilt. Here's ABC's Lindsay Davis.
I've had, regret when we came to the final deadlock decision, and it kind of has been eaten in my mind. This could all be said and done.
Some might call it the mistrial of the century, the sexual assault case against embattled comedian Bill Cosby.
Well, the sexual assault trial of Bill Cosby ending this morning.
Moments ago, the judge declaring a mistrial.
Tonight, fresh insight into the tension and tears from the jurors who endured those grueling 52 hours of deliberation.
You don't really want to be picked for something like that.
21-year-old Bobby Dugan was one of the youngest on the jury. Like so many, he knew the comedian as Dr. Huxtable, the sweater-wearing model dad from The Cosby Show. But after what he calls 2 agonizing weeks of trial, his view of Cosby changed.
I thought he was guilty.
You did?
Yes.
But you didn't always feel that way?
No.
He was one of the 12, 7 men and 5 women, tasked with deciding Cosby's fate, all sequestered 300 miles away from home and divorced from the outside world.
What swayed you?
People's opinions and hearing their arguments and just hearing what they have to say about everything.
But not everyone was swayed. With the pressure building, he says people were starting to go stir-crazy.
You're stuck in a small room with 11 other people. The one little thing that one person might do will drive you insane.
Did you feel like the size of the room had any impact on...
It got smaller every day.
Why deliberate for so long?
If you quit just like that, you could be getting away with something. You always want to be that extra sure.
And by the end, he says tensions had reached a breaking point.
The most intense moment, I think, was when there's about 4 people crying in the room. One was out in the hallway, pacing, visibly upset. They just couldn't handle it.
On the 6th day of deliberations, that jury was hopelessly deadlocked.
I want to thank the jury for their long days and their honest work.
A mistrial declared, and the 79-year-old comedian walked out of court a free man. The jury was told to focus only on the evidence presented, but there's no denying that Cosby's presence still loomed large.
I think if it was a regular average Joe, it probably wouldn't have taken that long.
This trial was particularly stressful for the jury because it had the unusual situation where the jurors were sequestered. It's unusual for a judge to allow it.
Jury consultant Roy Futterman was not involved with this case, but says emotions can affect decision-making.
They may be more or less influenced by their own emotional response, whether or not they're aware of it.
There's nothing to indicate so far that jurors ignored the evidence. In high-profile cases in particular, jurors are very careful to abide by the law because they know the world is watching.
You think there's something that could have happened differently to change the outcome?
Evidence. If there is other evidence, more substantial evidence, we would have had a better verdict.
Can you say what one particular strong point was that made you think, boy, he's guilty?
He said himself, I think it was in the 2005 deposition, when they were asking him, would you use the word consent? He said, I want to use that word.
But this reprieve for Cosby may just be temporary. Prosecutors are already vowing to retry the case.
Our plan is to move this case forward as soon as possible.
By many accounts, Cosby had already been deemed guilty in the court of public opinion after more than 50 women came forward accusing him of sexual misconduct and in some cases drugging them. But this trial was only about one woman, Andrea Constand.
This is the only case where a district attorney believed there was enough evidence where the statute of limitations had not expired.
Constand accuses Cosby of giving her 3 blue pills and then sexually assaulting her at his Pennsylvania home in 2004. During the trial, Cosby never took the stand, and his lawyers claim the encounter with Constand was consensual, pointing out alleged inconsistencies in her statements to police. And now another juror, who wanted to remain anonymous, seemed to side with the defense.
I don't doubt what she said happened, but she asked for an apology, and he gave her 2 apologies, and she refused any other aid that he offered.
The reason this is a tough case is because there are inconsistencies in Andrea Constand's account. if prosecutors were able to call 5, 10, 15 of the other women who had made allegations against Bill Cosby, I don't think there's any question that you'd have a conviction.
The mistrial was a big disappointment for Constand and other accusers, too, like Victoria Valentino, who sat in the courtroom.
Do you feel with a hung jury that you've gotten resolution?
Well, no, we're very upset.
Cosby was a cultural icon, from his wholesome Jell-O commercials
Moms, you know how the kids love Jell-O pudding.
to his cartoon, Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids.
Is Bill Cosby coming at you with music and fun?
When I sat down with Bill Cosby for an exclusive interview, he refused to address the allegations directly.
I have been in this business 52 years, and I've never seen anything like this.
Cosby's legal team has issued a number of denials to all the allegations, and Cosby insists he is merely the subject of a media firestorm.
His career is essentially over. They're never going to mention Bill Cosby's name again without mentioning these horrible allegations. It's going to be in his obituary, literally.
Mrs. Cosby, what would you like people to know about your husband?
His longtime wife, Camille Cosby, by his side during closing arguments, head up with a demure smile.
She came in holding his hand, and she was here to show that I'm not going to stand for this. I stand by my husband.
After the trial, his publicist announced that Cosby would host several speaking engagements. Among the topics up for discussion, how to avoid sexual assault charges.
Mr. Cosby is going to go out and use his voice to let it be heard and to try and educate young men and women on how to avoid this.
Meanwhile, several of Cosby's accusers still have civil suits against him. Gloria Allred, who represents some of them, released a statement saying the best advice Cosby can give is to not drug and sexually assault women. And today, another Cosby publicist clarified those remarks on CNN.
I just want to be clear, the town hall meetings are not about sexual assault.
I think he's better if he shuts up. I think every day they don't talk about him is a good day.
For now, Cosby heads toward an uncertain future. His legacy tarnished, but freedom intact. For now. For Nightline, I'm Lindsay Davis in New York.